tonight, I'm going to try to play a map in Vanguard that is not either Shipment, Das Haus, or Mayhem. So I've been thinking even more about the whole Xbox, PlayStation, Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer thing. I know it's a little out of date at this point, like that whole shebang happened like a week ago. But think about it realistically. If Microsoft would be like, okay, we're going to yank Call of Duty and it's going to be like a Game Pass day one thing, it's going to be an Xbox exclusive, whatever. But I want you guys to think about this. Doesn't that mean that Microsoft would technically be fighting themselves, since Halo and Call of Duty are technically like rivals in a sense? Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield have always been like the big trio. So at that point, does it mean Halo and Call of Duty would still be fighting, or would we see like Halo Call of Duty crossovers? Not just that, but poor Battlefield. I mean, if Halo and Call of Duty end up like kind of teaming up in a way and it's not like a rival situation anymore, I mean, sure, the fans will still be divided on and be like, no, Halo's better, no, Call of Duty's better. Battlefield's gonna be all alone still with, like, just 1 versus 2. Bad enough as is that Battlefield is, like, a total flop right now with 2042 being actual trash. Now, I understand what Sony was saying about Call of Duty being, like, a really big deal, because it is. It's always, like, the best-selling game every single year, but in terms of an FPS thing that could rival it, you know what Sony owns? Yeah, Bungie. Do you know what Bungie created back in the day? Halo. The only FPS that has been truly able to rival Call of Duty in terms of sales numbers and all that. I mean, Battlefield always does good, but it's always truly been Call of Duty and Halo. Let's be honest here. Now, I know Bungie is running the whole Destiny 2 ship right now, but I mean, hey, that's another huge FPS. It's not exactly the same thing as like a Call of Duty PvP type thing. Obviously, that's more of a PvP looter shooter type thing. But man, if they really start feeling like really worried, really scared that, you know, Call of Duty is just going to be too big of a deal and they have nothing that's going to be able to combat that and everybody's going to run over to Xbox for that, they have multiple shooter franchises they can bring back. SOCOM or Killzone, you know, like one of the biggest FPS that Sony owns. As far as I'm aware, Killzone is the biggest IP that Sony owns in terms of FPS franchises. So they could get Bungie on a Killzone game. Could you imagine that? I'm not sure what the original team's name was that was working on Killzone before, but obviously we haven't seen a game from that series since Shadowfall back in like, what, 2014, 2013, something like that. So, I mean, hey, if that studio really doesn't want to work on another Killzone, maybe throw Bungie at it. Obviously, they're goats in the FPS industry. Either that or they could create, like, a whole new IP entirely, of course. I don't know, I just kind of think it's, like, ass backwards, because everybody knows if Sony was on the other end of this and they were the ones buying Activision, you know they would make Call of Duty an exclusive right away. I mean, look at their whole backlog of games. Spider-Man, God of War, Last of Us. What do they all have in common? They're freaking Sony exclusives. I mean, sure, they're on PC now. Well, not Last of Us yet, but you know what I mean. Horizon Zero Dawn, Death Stranding, and then you have the one-year exclusives. Like, Sony is always biting whatever they can when it comes to exclusives. It doesn't matter how big or small the exclusive is, whether it's like for a year, a couple months, or permanently. If they can get exclusives, they're going to do it. And you can bet if they had the biggest shooter franchise under their belt, you know they make it exclusive, like, right away. Beyond all that, you know, I'm kind of tired to talk about all that. I'm sure everybody is at this point. I think we're all ready for this whole deal to just kind of go through so we can kind of move on to the next piece of gaming drama. But for me personally, the biggest thing that I want to happen with this whole Activision acquisition, I don't even care about what platform Call of Duty goes to. I have all of them. I have PlayStation, PC, Xbox, so it doesn't bother me what it goes to, what it goes exclusive to. I just want old IPs to come back. I wonder, since Microsoft is going to be buying them and they do kind of have a history with mobile games, if maybe we could see some Call of Duty mobile spin-offs coming again. Like, I know we have Call of Duty Mobile right now. It's like a traditional thing. But do you guys remember like Call of Duty Heroes and stuff like that? Are we going to start seeing something like that happen again? It seems like there's been like a huge push for mobile gaming lately. That Disney Marvel Showcase that happened just like a week ago, that was like all focused on mobile gaming for the most part. There was only like 2 or 3 games that weren't around about mobile gaming besides like the end Sizzle Reel. Like all of it was just about announcing new mobile games. Another thing we need to think about with the whole Xbox Call of Duty exclusive thing, Xbox hasn't profited off of Game Pass yet. Would it really be a good idea to take Call of Duty away from the system that it tends to actually sell better on? Don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. Still, Sony has like all the marketing rights to Call of Duty as of now, and even before they had the marketing rights, like I got 3rd place, and I literally just joined. What happened? Call of Duty has always sold extremely well on PlayStation. Like, it's usually an even split between the consoles. Like, it sells, like, say, for example, 15 million units on PlayStation. It'll also sell, like, 15 million units over on Xbox. So all that being said, what I'm trying to say is, if they take away half of their sales and try to rely on Game Pass, you know most people are just going to pay for Game Pass and not buy the game straight up just because, like, that's just kind of how the mindset is. Sure, a lot of people are still going to buy it, but more people are just going to go the Game Pass route. So long term, well, maybe not long term, but at least for a while, doesn't that mean they'd be losing a lot of money? And I don't even know if they can make that up. And it's funny, through all this, Nintendo is flourishing by just doing what Nintendo does best. Staying out of it and just dropping their own exclusives, man. You don't see Nintendo ever dealing with any of this because they're like, nah, man, this is our games. You can't take that from us. PlayStation, on the other hand, they're like, oh yeah, our mascot used to be Crash Bandicoot, but guess what? Our competitor owns our mascot now. I gotta admit, I've never been in the know when it comes to Nintendo besides in like the last year. In the last year, I finally started really following Nintendo stuff. Since I do plan on getting a Switch, I kind of just want to like be caught up to date with everything that's going on with them. And I watched that direct from a couple days ago, and that new Zelda, it looks exactly like Breath of the Wild. I know that's the point, it's supposed to be a follow-up on that game, but like, most Zelda games, from Zelda to Zelda, they always switch up the art style, switch up the direction, so I'm just hoping that this isn't going to be more the same, and people aren't going to look at this game as fondly because it's not as revolutionary or innovative as Breath of the Wild, but I may be wrong, and I hope I am, because Breath of the Wild, I've never even played, but I've watched a lot of it, and just from watching it, I can tell you it's a good game. That's the thing with Nintendo. When you got that Nintendo stamp of approval, you know it's gonna be a good game. Mario, Zelda, all the other IPs that they own, Donkey Kong, you always know it's gonna be a good game when you get it, or at least a decent game. Other people, you're not exactly sure of that. You're not sure that it's going to be a full, complete game. Obviously, there's a few exceptions, like that one Mario Sports game that came out a bit ago sucked. I heard Nintendo Switch Sports was a little mid. The only people that really nail their releases every single time are, like, Nintendo with their main IPs and the, like, Sony exclusives. Xbox, on the other hand, we got, like, Halo Infinite, and we're not going into that. I wish more publishers and developers would go that route with, like, the Nintendo or Sony stamp of approval and just make, like, good, solid games that are complete. But I know, oh no, nowadays releasing a game that's functional it's not ideal. It's not gonna work for our wallet. I refuse to wait for her to search for a match anymore. I give up. Anyway, as always, a shout out to the Patreons, comments, favorite grandma, and the video tab. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully see you guys back here tomorrow at 7. I'm sorry for rambling so much about like gaming news and drama lately, but look, this is something I'm passionate about. I have been following this stuff like crazy lately, and I just need to get my thoughts out there. Like, this is just me regurgitating all of the info I have heard, but also kind of just giving my thoughts on it because it's driving me crazy. Anyways, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Stay beautiful. I love you all. Peace.